That's right. Mark it down. 5 huge main events. Also, the new Alhambra Arena debut of Vampiro. He makes his debut at the former ECW Arena this Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m.
Unbelievable. You know, we had Vampiro on a couple of weeks ago, and the guy, you know, he's done everything in the business. He's a legend south of the border in Mexico. And the important thing that I think is a nice coup for you guys at Pro Wrestling Unplugged, he does not make many independent appearances in the United States. Now, his role as of right now, I mean, it's, you know, to a certain extent, it's undetermined as of right now. But to have the WSX champion a part of Pro Wrestling Unplugged, I can guarantee that's going to put some asses in the seats. That guy was stellar with us a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's going to showcase his stuff that he's been doing throughout his career this upcoming weekend in Philly.
That's right. I guess I'll break the news right now. It's going to be Vampiro defending the WSX Heavyweight Championship against another WSX star, Luke Hawx, in a matchup this Saturday afternoon. Also, we have the PW World Heavyweight title matchup there. Devin Moore defeated Ian Rotten in a pure wrestling match just a few weeks ago, but this time it's different rules. It's under Ian Rotten's rules. Hardcore rules. The undisputed king of hardcore, Ian Rotten, challenges the PWU heavyweight champion, Devin Moore. And what a matchup that's going to be.
I'll tell you this, House. You know, Devin Moore, obviously more of a high flyer kind of guy. You're obviously part of the Pro Wrestling Unplugged scene. It's a little bit of the clashing of the styles, and as you mentioned, it's under Ian's rules. It's under hardcore rules. Does Devin have more of a disadvantage going into this matchup when it really is? It's all about Ian Rotten, I'll tell you, my friend.
Oh, well, absolutely. The champion definitely has the cards stacked up against him. Like I said, a few weeks ago, they had a matchup where Ian Rotten just totally brutalized the champion in a pure wrestling match. I was very impressed with Ian Rotten's wrestling skills. Barely. He was just inches away of becoming champion. Devin Moore stole it in the end, but this time it's a different story. It's under hardcore rules. This is right up Ian Rotten's alley. Now, you know Ian Rotten, he has been in death matches around the world. He has been deathmatch champions, Iron Man champions, deathmatch champions. This is right up his alley, and it's not looking good for the PWU World Heavyweight Champion, Devin Moore.
The PW Hardcore Championship is also going to be on the line in a 10-count last man standing match. Corporal Robinson with Shaggy Two-Dope of the ICP in his corner against Raven. Now, again, this is not just a show for us here at the Main, but we did have Raven aboard our program as part of her 5-year anniversary program. And Raven's just an enigma among himself. We've seen what he's done in ECW. We've seen what he's done in TNA right now. And most wrestling fans will say this in terms of a creative standpoint. Anything that Raven is a part of touches gold or becomes gold in some way, shape, or form. So I'll tell you this, just what has it been like having Raven be a part of the locker room and teaching a lot of this stuff to some of the people that are just breaking into the business right now? What has he meant to the company, to Pro Wrestling Unplugged?
Well, Raven's been around this business for a long time. He has a lot of knowledge, and I see him talking to the younger guys back in the locker room. I'm sure he's learning them, as I'd like to say. But this matchup with Corp coming up for the PWU Hardcore Championship, both men are no strangers to hardcore. Corporal Robinson, he's been our hardcore champion. He's the current JCW heavyweight champion. Raven's also a former world champion. Like I said, no stranger to hardcore. This is going to be downright brutal. It's going to be bloody, and it's going to come down to the last man standing match. It's a 10 count. There are no pinfalls. There are no submissions. It can go anywhere around the building. Last man standing, you can leave your opponent laying on the ground. You can leave them laying on the bleachers, up in the rafters, wherever it may be. But the last man standing will be declared the winner of that matchup. And take nothing away from Corporal Robinson. He's ready for this matchup. He has paid his dues. He had spilt more blood in that arena than anybody else I've ever seen. That's definitely going to be a big main event for us this coming Saturday.
House, I think this would be the perfect time for actually Blade to be interceding right now. Blade, you're a huge Insane Clown Posse fan, if I'm not mistaken, on past editions of the Man. You professed your love of the Insane Clown Posse. Of course, I'm mentioning this in a little bit of a facetious fashion.
I think they suck.
That's the point that I'm trying to get at.
They're great businessmen, I'll give them that. I mean, they peddled their crap music to millions upon millions and laughed all the way to the bank. But, you know, they went into the wrestling thing head first, and they're doing it strong. So.
Well, the important thing is that the authorized and expressed views of one Blade does not necessarily reflect those of the entire staff of Monday Night Mayhem. So again, I'll say
yeah,
this.
I'm sure you're an expert on all 23 of the releases on Psychopathic Records, and I'm sure you listen to them nightly and daily.
Makes sense.
You know, that's funny because I was never really one to listen to the ICP's music. Yeah, of course, I've heard of them. I've seen them in WWE, and I've seen them in WCW, etc. I've never listened to their music until they debuted in Pro Wrestling Unplugged. And to be honest with you, I like their music.
You and millions of others. You're not alone.
And and not only that, since they've come into our company, it seems like something happened. We got that big-time feeling, this feeling of greatness. Something is coming our way now. And, I'm not going to say it's just because of them. It's a lot of hard work, from Todd Gordon and Johnny Kashmere, and Corporal Robinson, and everybody else in the company who's been pouring their hearts and their blood and their soul into it. But it just seems to be right around the time they came in, something happened. Our attendance was already going up. Now that they're here, it's going up even more. Now we have Raven and Vampiro, and, there's superstars from around this country and around the world ringing Todd Gordon's phone every single day because they want to be here in Pro Wrestling Unplugged. That's why I say when you think Pro Wrestling Unplugged, expect the unexpected because we can have anybody, anywhere, and any time through Todd Gordon.
John, the SATs, the Briscoes, numerous tag team belts they've held around the world, but at very few times, and I think this is quite possibly the first time that all four members of these two tag teams will be opposing one another. It's a four-way number one contenders matchup. The Briscoes have made their return to Ring of Honor. The SATs have been doing it everywhere that they've been, whether it be whether it be the East Coast, the West Coast. Two of the most storied tag teams. I'm sure that a lot of our WWE fans out there are saying, well, weren't the SATs going to be a part of ECW? That never came to fruition. The Briscoes have always been chomping at the bit to get to the big time. I'm just very impressed that you managed to get all these two tag teams to actually split up and go one-on-one versus one-on-one.
Well, with all these big matchups we have coming up Saturday, this one, without question, I'm looking forward to the most. And you got to remember something. You go back to the year 2000, back when the Briscoe brothers and Joel and Jose Maximo, the SATs, when they were just coming on this business and they were just really starting to find their niche. And granted, these guys weren't even 18 years old yet. I called their first tag team encounter, which is the match that put those two teams on the map in independent wrestling. So this is sentimental to myself. I'm sure it's going to be sentimental to them, but this time there's a lot more on the line. It's every man for themselves, and the winner will face the PWU heavyweight champion in March.
The Backseat Boys against All Money is legal. Blade, I know that you're a huge Trent Acid fan. I know you're a huge Johnny Kashmere fan. We'll save that another story for another time, another segment of the House of Unplugged.
Trent Acid, the Jeff Hardy of the indie scene.
I think that now that's actually a compliment, House. I got to mention, Blade is a huge Jeff Hardy fan. I think that I told you about this sort of a little bit off the air, so that's an ultimate compliment for Trent Acid. But we talked about...
we enjoy his matches. We've seen him here many times in Buffalo even.
We have. So you have the Briscoes and you have the SATs, but it's sort of the fact that the tag team scene, and I know that you guys talked about that as well at ProWrestlingUnplugged.com, that the tag team scene is hotter than ever in terms of PW's history. And, of course, we're going to be seeing the Backseat Boys and All Money is Legal go at it this upcoming Saturday afternoon. What can we expect in this matchup?
Oh, yeah, there is no question. There is no doubt that the top tag team competition is right here in Pro Wrestling Unplugged. And you talked about the SATs and the Briscoe brothers. All Money is Legal has really, really been coming on, especially in 06. I think they've really raised it up a couple levels here. They went on to win the Pitbull Public Enemy Memorial Cup. They won that tournament. They beat a lot of great teams. They beat the Backseat Boys, the SATs, Homicide, and Joker. All three teams in one night, and they definitely deserve to win that cup. And they're considered now amongst, guys like the Briscoe brothers and the SAT and the Backseat Boys. And, of course, you guys know the Backseat Boys. You know all about them. It speaks for themselves. These guys have helped tag team gold around this country, around the world. And I expect this matchup could be the stealer of the night, the big sleeper match of the night. Could be between the Backseat Boys and All Money.